Welcome everybody to episode 2 of our show. My name is John Santana.
And I'm Justin Taylor.
Justin, buddy.
Yes.
Episode 2.
Yes.
Did you ever think we'd get this far?
I didn't even think we'd get as far as episode 1.
No, me neither. No, to be honest, especially after forgetting to record half of it. Yeah, you know.
Yep.
That was
little fun fact for everyone out there.
A bit of a setback.
But we got there in the end.
We did learn some valuable lessons.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, the valuable lesson that I learned is that actually doing a podcast does require some audio production.
I knew that one, which is why I've never done one, because I can't do that.
I haven't done it for a very long time, but I had to dust that old art off, and I think I didn't do too bad. I think bit of tape in places, and
a little bit of tape holding stuff up.
Yeah, a bit of blue tack here, and
bit of paint to cover that.
yeah, a bit of Sharpie to cover in the bald spots. And it was a serviceable bit of entertainment.
Oh yeah, it did the job.
Yeah, so yes, I am now the producer of the show as well.
Yay! Saves me a job.
Yeah, I mean that's it. You just get to turn up and look pretty.
Well, yeah, I'm trying really hard on that second part.
You don't have to try too hard. You're gorgeous. You know it. All right, so what have you been doing this week?
So I have been actually quite the busy bee this week. I dusted off all of my crafting stuff. So I got the wire cutter plugged in, got the foam out the boxes. I made myself a brand new DM screen, which I'm really actually surprised myself with how well it turned out. Mm-hmm. So it's quite cool because it's got like a dice tower built into it on the right hand side of it, enough space for my laptop and all my books and notes and whatnot behind there as well. And off on the left hand side of it, I've got a couple of shelves that I can stack minis on. So just in terms of getting yourself prepped for a session, you can pretty much get everything you need out and ready. So you're not digging through boxes for minis and stuff like that, which obviously I also bought a new 3D printer this week as well, which arrived. I set it up today. So I've got 2 of those now. So minis are something that I have a lot of at my table, and terrain pieces and that sort of thing as well. And I wanted something that made that just a little bit more dynamic when playing. And obviously having played in some of the virtual stuff that you've done in the past and seeing like some of the interactive maps that you can have and all that sort of thing, I really wanted to bring that to my at the table sessions. And I just bought a new TV. So I had a spare TV lying around, which means I'm sure a lot of our listeners can probably guess where I went with that. So I have been putting together some framework and stuff to hold a TV above my table so that there's still space underneath it for my players to have notes and books and snacks and whatnot without getting it all over the battle maps. But we can now have animated interactive maps on my table, which is really cool. I sent you a couple of photos of that.
You did.
Before we started recording. So I'd love to have some feedback.
You did. I mean, first of all, the first thing you sent me was the GM screen, and it just kind of came out of the blue. In between multiple Instagram videos that we send each other that we find amusing.
Yes.
And all of a sudden, I get this picture. It's like, yeah, GM screen. And I looked at it and went, yeah, that is pretty cool, because the first thing you sent me was the bare bones. You sent me essentially what were the 3 walls of it, so to speak. Yes. And I went, oh, yeah, it's cool. Seems sturdy. Seems good. And then every time you'd send me a new picture, there'd be something else added to it. There was the dice tower, and then there was the shelves, and then the full picture with the laptop. It's like it is actually really cool. And then you said, I'm working on a project. And my instructions to you, and this, listeners, this is Justin in a nutshell. All right, this is going to define. This is basically if I had to describe Justin, it would be via this story. That Justin told me he had a project, and I said, you know what? Don't tell me. I don't want to hear it. Just tell me on the show so I can be, surprised, and I can hear it for the first time, as many of our listeners will. And this was Sunday, I think we were discussing this.
I think it was literally after. It was just after or just before we released the first episode.
Yeah, something along those lines. So it was Sunday. We will be releasing again on Sunday, but right now, for context purposes, we are recording on Thursday. So it's been 4 days. And, today Justin and I were kind of going back and forth. And I even thought to myself, he's actually doing really well. He's not telling me what this project is. He's keeping it to himself, because Justin, when he gets excited about something, he has to tell the world.
I do. I really do.
And it was about 2 hours ago, when we were discussing what time we were going to start recording, all of a sudden I get pictures coming through, and it's project. And I thought, fuck's sake, we were so close. We were so close to me having a legitimate moment of going, oh, wow, that looks awesome.
The reason that it was that close is because I finished it about 2 hours ago. So the reason it took me longer than I was originally planning it to is some of the bits that I needed, I couldn't get at my local hardware store. And I went to like 5 of them, right? Because I initially started wanting to build this pretty much at the end of our last recording session. I came out of that, and Scott, our guest on the last episode, sent me a video of another D&D creator on TikTok and Instagram, where he was setting up his game for the night, and he had this table layout, and I was like, that's a really cool frame. I wonder how difficult that would be to build or anything like that. And I went through his videos, and he actually had a tutorial on how he built it. And I watched that, and I was like, wow, that's really, really straightforward. That's really easy. I could probably knock that out in an afternoon. So I immediately got in my car, drove to the hardware store. I was like, I need to get all these parts. But they didn't have the connectors. So they had the piping. For those of you out there that are wondering, it's the framework is built with PVC piping. So it's 20 mil PVC pipe. So it's roughly an inch. It's just under an inch. Actually, it's about 3/4 of an inch diameter piping. For those of you that use that measurement for units of measurement.
You do realize that if you didn't get that spot on, there's going to be some pedantic fuck out there going, well, I'll have you know.
That's why I said roughly.
they're currently...
Because it's not exactly, but it's roughly 3/4.
Hammering away at their keyboard right
now.
Oh,
yeah. Keyboards are breaking right now in response to this. But yeah, so roughly 3/4 of an inch, but 20 mil tubing is what I wanted to use. Because obviously everything here, when you go to the hardware store, everything is in millimeters. So his video uses inches, because in America, that is their sort of standard units for measurement when they're doing that kind of thing. So piping comes in 1/4 inch, all that sort of thing. So that I wanted to get roughly the same sort of thickness, which is our sort of direct comparison will be the 20 mil.
Yeah.
So they had the piping, but they didn't have the connectors. So I was like, oh, God damn it. So went on trusty Amazon, ordered the connectors, but didn't want to get the piping until I got the connectors, because I wanted to make sure that the connectors fit the piping. So the connectors arrived yesterday. And so I was like, awesome, cool, that'll work nicely. But they arrived after the hardware store closed, so I couldn't go get them. So I went today during my lunch break, grabbed the piping, took one of the connectors with me to make sure it all fits, got home, measured it all up, cut it, realized that I'd forgotten to account for the extra material that the connectors provide in my measurements and cuttings. So I was about 1 centimeter out. So I had to go and buy more piping after I finished work, which is why I only finished it about 2 hours ago.
But I mean, it looks very sweet. You sent me a picture of
Mhm.
it displaying a map with one of your scenery
Yes.
pieces on top, and
Yes,
it's
I
like,
did,
oh yeah, I could play the shit out on
Mm.
that. It was like, yeah, I could definitely run a session on that quite easily, and it's not. You're not breaking any ground with the idea because we've seen this done
Yeah.
hundreds of times by other people, and people are probably far more creative than we'll ever be. And
Absolutely.
and yeah, I think it's a really solid idea because there is an advantage of having that as a baseline to
Mhm.
then build upon, and I think it's really cool. And yeah, I can't wait to come around and kill a couple of your characters on it.
Yay. Yeah, no, so it's it came together really nicely actually. I was very pleasantly surprised with how it all came together. I mean, my DM screen, it's still not finished. There's still detailing bits I need to do. I've kind of built the base of it. So it's functional at the moment. But now I'm going to make it look pretty.
Oh yeah.
Is the next step. Cuz at the moment it's just plain foam. So I'm going to be adding some castling details, things like that. And yeah, probably a few other bits and pieces that I'll think of in the near future. But the other big thing that I got today was my brand new 3D printer, which arrived. So I was frantically setting that up, and I'm actually running its test print right now while we're recording.
I remember when you told me about that the other day. It's like, I may or may not have bought another 3D printer, and I just okay, that. Yeah, that is you. That is, by default, what your sort of inclination is. Need toy, buy toy.
In my defense, I've been wanting to get. So I've had a resin printer for 2 years now, coming up to 2 years now. I've had a resin printer. And resin printers are great. They're really good for printing like your minis and stuff like that as well. Like character minis. I get my players or other people that I play with to go onto sites like Hero Forge or what's the other one that we use? I think it's Anvil was another one that we use. And obviously you can go on there and you can design a mini for your actual character. So it's customized to what your character looks like in your head, right? Which is great because it's something that it's not off the shelf. It's unique to your character, and it's just really, really great. And normally, obviously, you would be able to buy the model directly from them, and they'll actually send you a printed up model, and then you can just paint it yourself, or you can even get them to paint it, I believe, as well. I think they offer a service for that.
That's that was quite a late addition to what they were doing. It is the painter is really cool. It is.
Yeah,
I played around with it a lot.
But with me having a 3D printer, what it means is we can just buy the STL file when you do that, which is an option that they have on there, which obviously is a lot cheaper because you're not paying them for the production of the model and the shipping or anything like that. You'll receive an email a little while later with an STL file, and then I can whack that on my resin printer and print off your mini. And then my players have their own custom characters at the table. It's really, really great for that. It's also really good for things like if you're playing a druid and you want all of your beast forms to have an actual mini as well. Not a problem. You can get that done. The limitation I've had with my resin printer is for all the terrain stuff that I like to do, which, I mean, you've seen some of the stuff I've done.
Yeah.
It can be quite difficult to do that on my resin printer because my resin printer's got quite a small build volume.
Yeah.
So, for example, for that campaign I mentioned in the last episode that I'm writing, where it starts off, the first quarter of the campaign, roughly, is all going to take place on a ship, right?
Yeah.
Now, I happen to also be a subscriber to Loot Studios, which when you've got a 3D printer, and if you've got a 3D printer and you are into D&D, I cannot recommend their subscription service enough because the models you get are fantastic.
I just have to stress at this point that none of these companies are actually paying us.
Yeah,
if
in fact, I'm paying them.
If anybody from any of these companies, wants to,
wants to sort us out
with our production costs, then
that'd be great. But yeah, honestly, like, so one of the Loot Studio packages that I've got for one of the months is entirely based around a pirate crew. And one of the big models that I got with that was a big pirate ship, which splits off into different layers of the ship as well. So you can actually lay out the ship, and you can interact on the ship with your minis and all that sort of thing, because it's to scale, right?
Yeah.
Now, printing that on my little resin printer is something like, I was counting them up yesterday when I was umming and ahhing about buying this printer. There is something like, I think it's like 160 something individual pieces that I'd have to print and then glue together to make this ship.
Yeah.
Whereas with the new FDM printer, with how much that build volume is and how that can print and stuff like that, I could print that same ship in about, I think it's like 40 pieces that then get glued together. So it's just a much easier puzzle to put together. So yeah, so it's going to make printing my terrain stuff a lot easier, and it's going to give me a lot more flexibility with that as well, which is going to be really cool.
No, it's grand, and you know, it's something that I know you enjoy, and it's, you know, it's definitely going to add that sort of level of, like, a new level of dynamic to your game, which I think is fantastic. And
yes,
again, I can't wait to see some of the things that you come out with.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it at the moment as well. So I through Steam, with there was the announcement of Counter-Strike 2 recently, which meant that all of the skins in CS:GO for some reason shot up in price.
Yeah.
So I sold a bunch of the skins that I had just sitting in my inventory that I never used. So I had a bunch of money sitting in my Steam account, and I found something on there called Dynamic Dungeons Editor, which is basically a bit of software that's designed for exactly what I've just set up on my table. So it is designed for you to have a laptop behind your DM screen hooked up to a virtual tabletop, or in my case a virtual map, and you can control like all sorts of elements from it and storyboard out your maps and everything through this program.
Yeah.
It's really versatile for that. So you can even have like your entire dungeon layout room by room in tiles in this editor, right? So then when they go through a doorway, you can go to where that doorway is in your dungeon editor, and you can actually map out the dungeon in these tiles, and you can just click through it and actually go through the dungeon, as it were.
That's pretty handy. That's pretty cool.
So, and you can also add like weather effects and all that sort of thing. It's just really, really cool. You can even import your own models. So it's based through Unity.
Right,
which means any assets that you can get for Unity, or any assets you create for Unity as well, you'll actually be able to import into this and use them as things in the environment, which is pretty cool as well.
Yeah, I mean that does sound cool, and again, I'm very intrigued as to how it's going to play out.
Yes,
you know, I'm happy to come around and GM something for you at some point.
Well, I'm planning to GM some stuff on it myself before I let somebody else take it for a spin.
No, 100%. I'll come round and roll some dice.
Sounds good.
I'll create a very serious and deep character
that I will kill.
Oh yeah, 100%.
As revenge for all of the ones of mine you've killed over the years.
It never gets old. So, I mean, I don't have any news as inspiring as that. In my homebrew campaign, the current arc that I was running was a murder mystery, a hunt for a serial killer. And it is definitely one of the most ambitious arcs I've done. It's like, in terms of writing, I definitely I went down a rabbit hole with this, and I just added layer after layer after layer. I mean, I kind of tallied it up, and in Obsidian, it was easily like 70 notes worth, between NPCs and locations and timelines and all of this. And my players, they actually went and discovered everything there was to discover, because I did leave the possibility for them to bypass a lot of the investigating and kind of go straight to who the killer was, etc., etc. But they, despite being quite close to going down those avenues at times. They ended up going and speaking to everyone they needed to speak to and all this, and they saw the whole picture of it, which I was so happy about.
I feel like that's always something really nice when you've done like loads of prep and then your players actually use it all. That's so much better than when you do loads of prep and then just go, well, it's that guy.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. And that was my worry when we first started it. Because it's like, if you guys nail this after one session, I'm going to give up playing. But we know that's not true. No, but yeah, so they did, and it's been about 5 or 6 sessions where we have kind of got sidetracked with other elements that I threw in there for fun and games. But yeah, they are now kind of heading towards the final confrontation, and yeah, I'm going to try kill at least one of them.
At least, come on.
At least, it's got to be a challenge.
Come on now.
All right, okay, I'm going for the
TPK.
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 I've coincided. I've only actually ever had one TPK.
That doesn't sound right.
No, honestly, just one TPK. It was in Rise of the Rune Lords. In the there's like a big sort of mega dungeon part of it in book 5, and towards the end of it, they all died.
I've never been part of a TPK. I just realized.
Are you not?
No.
I was close.
I've never been on the receiving end or the dealing end of one.
I was close, and it was at a convention where someone was running. It was Pathfinder First Edition, and someone was running. I genuinely can't remember the module, but it is again it's a 3-part dungeon module that is renowned to be a grinder.
Right, yeah.
My bard died in the first room.
Oh.
So I was basically sat there for the entirety of the session, kind of going, this is fun. And
sounds like me.
And there was one at the end of it. There was one character left standing, who was he was going to die 100%. There was no way he was going to survive that. And then the time limit hit. They're like, okay, so we've got to stop playing now. It's like,
you lucky son of a gun.
Yeah, so it was a close one. And my bard died straight away in that one.
See, like that's the thing. I die a lot. Like I die a lot. I mean, you know this, but that's because dice hate. Dice hate me. It's no secret, right? Rolling against me, you'll roll more nat 20s than you've ever rolled in your life. If I'm rolling against you, I'll roll more nat 1s than you've ever seen in your life. And yes, before anyone says, "Oh, you've never seen Will Wheaton roll," I have seen Will Wheaton roll. I make Will Wheaton look like a god. I've put it on the internet now. It's out there. Challenge me. I swear to God.
I don't think that's something anybody wants to win.
It's my only thing. It's all I've got.
Yeah, I mean, come on, Will Wheaton. You've got the next generation.
Yeah.
Justin has nothing.
I've got nothing. All right. The only thing I've achieved in my life is that I roll worse than you. Let me have this.
Yeah, I mean, come on, Will. You've got Stand By Me. Poor Justin has got 2 3D printers.
I do have 2 3D. Actually, he can have the lower one. I've got 2 3D printers.
Yeah, there you go. Two 3D printers and a digital tabletop.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, yeah, but I don't think digital tabletop really counts because I'm sure if Will really wanted one, he would have one. If he hasn't already got one.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
He's got all that. He's got all that Star Trek money.
Yeah, he's got all that Star Trek money.
Yeah.
He's got all that Big Bang Theory money.
True. Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. And this what else? No, I'm sure he's got loads of stuff that we are just clueless about.
And jealous of.
And 100%.
Absolutely.
100%. So, you and I have got a bit of housekeeping to do, don't we?
Yes.
We have some official business to attend to.
Yes.
And that is because when we came up with the concept, I say concept like we had any of this planned. When we came up with this harebrained idea to talk on the internet for an hour, we went back and forth. We kind of discussed ideas about what we could call it and this and the other, and we eventually landed on the name Role Models, which we both 100% loved, and neither of us went, should we check?
We should look at that.
Yeah, should we check? Should we actually check if that's been taken at any point? And no. We just went with it. We rolled with it. Yeah, I hate myself for that. But we just did. We put it out there, and it was somebody in the Obsidian community. Anybody who's part of the Obsidian community knows Josh. He is one of the flag bearers of the entire community. He just kind of posted a screenshot of his podcatcher app, and it's like, yeah, you may want to rethink the name. There's about 7 different podcasts, all relating to tabletop role-playing, called Role Models.
Yes.
So, yeah.
We are not as creative as we thought.
And we didn't think we were creative at all. So imagine how bad we feel.
Right.
And to be honest, I did have a look at some of these other podcasts. They haven't been very active for a while, but the fact of the matter is they have still got content out there. They've still got episodes on these services, and I don't think they want to be associated with the likes of us.
I wouldn't blame them.
No, nor would I. I wouldn't hang out with me. So we decided that instead of having a private meeting, as it were, to come up with a new name, we'd do it here in the podcast, which I'm sure is going to be entertaining listening to all. So what we did is we decided we'd come up with a few ideas each, and we'd spitball and see what we came up with. How many have you got?
I'm gonna be honest. I just went through my list, and I hate almost all of them. They seemed like a really good idea when I wrote them down, and then I've just gone through them, and there's like it's basically the 2 I sent you are the only 2 that I still like.
Well, I mean, I've got a few. I think
yes,
3, 6, 9, 12, 14. I've got. All right. I'm gonna be completely honest. I don't love all of them. In fact, I downright hate some of them. However, there are, they are there to hopefully provide us with some spark of insight, and maybe help land on a name that we both agree upon. However, that being said, I do believe I've got the one.
Oh.
Yeah, this is one.
Well, let's do that one last then.
Yeah, well, that one's going last.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie that when I came up with this, I was at work. And I had to leave the room because I was laughing so much.
Oh, okay, that bodes well.
And I know your sense of humor.
You do.
And I think you are going to love it.
Oh, I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm excited for that one. But that is the last one. That is the one I'm going to kind of go, boom, this is what I think.
I'm going to give you the 3 that I am kind of most happy with.
Okay.
As my contributions, and then we'll go through your 14, because honestly, the others, just no.
So one of us has been doing his homework for the show, while the other one has been making a digital tabletop.
Yes. Hey, I was still making content, all right? Just different kind of content.
It's good to see where your priorities lie.
Yes, my table and my players.
Okay, so yeah, let's hear your 3. Let's do this.
We've got the 2 that I sent you, which was before we decided to do this on the podcast, which was I had 2 guys, 1 dice. Because why not? And of my 3, this next one is my favorite, which is Knights of the Round Tabletop.
Okay.
And then the final one, it goes back to an idea that from when we first started this, one of the names that we kind of went with, which is kind of a play on things, which is D&D with J&J.
Okay, all right. I think there may be something there. Okay, so I'm going to first address the glaring issue that is 2 guys, 1 dice. I'm hoping that not a lot of people remember a particular internet video that was named something quite similar. And honestly, I just can't think of anything else right now.
Exactly.
That's not a good thing.
If it's in my head, which with the way my brain works, you know it is,
Yeah.
it's only fair that it's in yours as well.
No, I do appreciate the sharing.
Sharing is caring.
Sharing is caring. So I do appreciate that. I don't really want that to... I don't want to subject that onto my listeners.
Fair.
You know. Okay, so the second one was Knights of the Round Tabletop.
Yeah.
I like that, but I do feel that would be more appropriate if we were doing an actual play.
Yeah, that's what I think. I think as well.
Yeah.
I think it would be a really good name for maybe like a campaign or something.
Yeah, if I don't know, who knows where this is going to take us. Maybe at some point we do actually decide to branch out and do a couple of then Knights of the Round Tabletop is ours, so nobody knows that, okay.
We got dibs.
We got dibs on the Knights of the Round Tabletop. And then the other one, D&D and J&J.
D&D with J&J.
The only issue with that is, I think, where we kind of decided to talk about tabletop role-playing as a whole.
Yeah, it's a bit narrow.
We kind of go into that niche of, it's D&D.
Yeah.
So, but they are good suggestions. You want to hear some of mine?
Yes.
All right, so mine, although I've got 14, they are, a lot of them kind of are plays on the same concept.
Okay.
All right, so like for example, the first one was the first concept I had was taking the word wisdom and transform it into wisdom. So you've got all the plays, all the idioms that come from that, like conventional wisdom or words of wisdom. Which, I mean, I don't hate words of wisdom. I don't think I've got any more wisdom-based ones. One that I found hilarious, which I don't think we'll ever use. Actually, 2 I found hilarious. One was I charisma.
That's pretty good.
I did enjoy that. And the other one was table spanners.
Okay.
As a play of table manners.
Yeah.
For those of you who are outside the UK, you can call somebody a spanner as an insult. So
it's a pretty good insult as well.
It is.
It's like it's offensive enough where they'll be like, "Wow, how dare you?" But it's not offensive enough they can do anything about it.
Yeah, you're basically calling someone a tool. So all right, so I did enjoy them. Okay, so other ones that I had were making a play on the rhyming sort of relationship between the word souls and roles.
Okay.
So there was a whole bunch of them, like rollmates, which already checked, taken.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, it sounds about right.
Yeah. Immortal roles, gentle roles, lost roles. You get the point.
Yeah.
So they were. I wasn't massively Roll Brothers, but not a massive fan of any of them. I did think Humble Fumble.
Nice. I like that one.
Odd, but again, taken.
Yeah.
All the ones I liked, I checked, except for my favourite one. My favourite is not taken. So there's a bonus.
That's good.
The other one was Double Fumble.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's taken. Then there was a name that I've kind of used for my Discord server, which is Dice Hard.
Yes.
And all the play, like A Good Day to Dice Hard or Dice Hard with a Vengeance, etc., etc.
All of the Die Hard movie titles.
Yeah, basically. So we've gone through all that. One I just threw in there because just to get to 14, I guess. And I hate it, was fumble rap.
That's so bad.
I absolutely fucking hate that. I do. But at the same time,
Oh my god.
it makes me laugh every time. All right, so then there was Brit Crit, but I'm not British by birth, so that kind of defeats
Yeah, me
the
neither.
point. Then there was Crit in it, Unfit Crit,
Uh-huh.
and then I think it's on to my favourite.
Okay.
It is onto the one that I've kind of gone through, and every time I look at it, I kind of go, this has to be it. This has to be the answer that we are searching for. It's not taken.
Is that it? It's not taken.
It's yeah. That's the only requirement. We just don't want anything that's taken.
Yeah, it's not taken.
Well, that is a big part. It's not taken. So,
It's not Liam Neeson.
but also it is a glorious pun.
Always a winner. Always a winner.
Always a winner.
Yeah.
And I just think it fits our brand and our sense of humor perfectly. And I'm actually scared I'm overselling this, but I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to go for this. You're lucky you haven't got me on camera because I'm trying to do this with a straight face, and I'm really struggling.
Failing miserably. Yep.
Okay.
I can hear it. I can hear it in your voice.
Are you ready for this?
I'm as ready as I will ever be.
Okay. Too legit to crit.
Yeah. That's it. That's the one.
Isn't that?
That's the one.
I honestly.
That's the one. That's it. We're done here. We can go home. That's too good, man.
I was literally at work, and I was doing something inane at the time, and I was, doing a spreadsheet of some description.
Yeah.
And I just went, ha! And I had to leave the room because I was dying at that.
Oh my god, that's brilliant.
So, are you happy with that?
Yes, yeah, that's it. We've got a winner.
And I think we should. I'm thinking of stylizing, as in 2 the number 2.
Yes.
Legit 2 again the number 2.
Yeah.
Crit.
Yeah. No, that's the one. I think.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce you officially to the second episode, but the inaugural episode of 2 Legit to Crit.
Oh, that's beautiful. That is a thing of beauty.
I think it is. I think it is. I love everything about it.
Oh my god, it's amazing.
All right, so yeah, I'm going to actually tonight come up with a new cover. I'm going to change everything, and I think, and I'm happy I didn't buy the domain for Role Models.
Yes.
But I'm definitely going to buy the domain for 2 Legit.
I think so.
Crit.
Yeah, I think that'll be good.
And yeah, so well, I'm glad we kind of landed on that.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm looking at it again. It's amazing. Anyway, sorry, some of my proudest work. So, all right, let's move on. We have a huge amount of one question this week.
Woohoo!
And I get the impression that this person is definitely trying to start some animosity between us.
Oh.
It's almost like this person knows us. And let me just, because I was in a rush to bring up the notes with 2 Legit to Crit, that I closed down the Google Forms. And
that sounds about right.
Yeah, that sounds about right, because I'm that organized. Right? Okay, so I'm going to read the question.
Do we have a name?
I think I'm going to leave the name. I'm going to leave.
You're going to leave the name.
I'm going to leave the name for later.
Okay.
I'm going to leave the name for last. So after the question, all right?
Can I try and guess who it was?
I think you might already know.
I think I do know.
So the question is, do you find physical media, such as models, maps, physical dice, to be a better engagement tool than digital media for tabletop role-playing games? I wonder.
Okay.
I wonder.
Gee.
I wonder who could have.
Okay, yeah.
That.
So this is definitely somebody who knows us.
It is somebody who knows us. It's somebody who knows us well. You know, I would dare say, godfather to my children. No, so
Yeah. Well, I think that this is I mean, it's a good question anyway, because it is something that there is a lot of discussion about everywhere.
Yeah,
I mean, let's be
100%.
honest. And I think it's actually something that we can discuss quite well, because we both have very opposite views on this.
Well, I mean, before we carry on, just to actually give the proper credit, because he knows we just spoke about him, but we did mention him in our previous episode. But it is our good friend Couch, and Couch, thanks for listening, thanks for supporting. We are gonna get you on the show at some point.
Yes.
Okay.
To talk about how to break clerics.
So I'm gonna let you. I think you should
start this one.
You should start this one. Yeah.
So I think as I was saying, it's definitely something I feel that we are going to be able to talk about quite well, because we do have very different opinions. Not very different opinions, actually. I think we're just at different ends of the spectrum on this. Because for me, playing digitally, I get very distracted very easily, as you well know. Having run for me in digital situations before and seen me in digital situations, I really struggle with it. I think it's partly because of just the way my brain is, where if I'm not permanently engaged with something, and it's one of the troubles that I have with playing online, is my brain switches off, right? So even if it's like at the table, let's say you're involved in a scene with one of the other players at the table, right? And I'm not involved at that moment in time because I don't know, I'm in a different room of the castle or somewhere else on the ship or whatever the situation is, right? I'm just not involved in that scene. I can just kind of talk to the person next to me quietly, and I'm still having some kind of interaction. I'm not just sitting there. Whereas online, you can't do that, because if you're talking to somebody else in the game, right, you're talking over the two people involved in the scene, because you can't have those different conversations at the same time. So I really struggle with that element of playing online. Whereas in person, I love it. I mean, as we kind of probably gathered from the conversations earlier, where I've got 2 3D printers for making minis and terrain pieces. I've got foam wire cutters and like all these sorts of things that I use to make my in-person game that much better. In my opinion, obviously not everybody likes terrain pieces. Some people prefer theater of the mind. But for me, I like having that visual representation. And with the tools that I've got, I can do that at the table very easily. So I definitely prefer playing at the table.
I mean, for me, I think I can kind of bisect this entire argument into 2 different sort of avenues of conversation. The first one is digital versus physical. I'm going to go ahead and say that the best gaming experience, 100%, without a doubt, is physical. It's at a table, it's rolling dice, it's being in a group and sort of feeding off each other, which is something that the digital mediums haven't managed to capture. That hasn't stopped them from trying, though. And, there are, whether it's Foundry or Roll20, we go from a digital map to virtual tabletops, and they are throwing in bells and whistles in order to make the game more immersive, which I think it's fantastic, and it is wonderful, and the stuff they're doing, and Foundry is is my VTT of choice, and the community there, they are constantly bringing out new modules which add new functionality to the games that you're playing. You know, anything from your standard dynamic lighting to being able to create leveled maps which kind of interact well with each other. If you're on a bottom layer, you don't see the layer above you until you go upstairs, and then it is fantastic. What they're doing is brilliant. However, digital will always be a step behind in my personal opinion, because of the interaction between the players.
Yeah.
Whether you've got your webcams on or whether you're just doing it via audio, it is a lot harder to gauge the sort of non-verbal cues that you get from playing in person.
Yes.
And also another downside in the digital sort of medium is the reliance upon it, because you have these fantastic services, Roll20, Foundry, etc., that automate a lot of the things for you.
Yeah.
Foundry will automatically calculate flanking penalties for second edition, bonuses for 5e, if you and an ally are flanking. And it's great, it's fantastic, but when that ceases to work, there is a panic. There is a certain element of, what do I do?
Yeah.
And on more than one occasion, I've had to remind my players that these games were around far earlier than virtual tabletops.
Yes.
You know, if Foundry isn't calculating your bonus properly, roll a fucking dice.
Yeah.
And tell me what your bonus is. Or add the bonus and tell me the result.
Oh, yeah. Just add it on to whatever the result is, yeah.
And there is that sort of moment of, oh, shit, Foundry's not working properly. And it almost brings the game to a halt because of it. So, no, I don't believe that digital will ever become better in a way than physical. However, what digital does offer you is the convenience.
Yes.
You know, I don't have to spend an hour of my day prepping my GM bag, moving to another location, setting up, playing, packing away, and then coming back home. I can just go, right, game starts in 5 minutes, load up maps that I've already pre-prepared with all the tokens on there and everything I need. And that is what digital offers me. It offers me that level of convenience. And in the situation that I was in, where I was working
really odd hours,
and the players that I'd gathered were in the same industry working odd hours, it was very beneficial to kind of go, right, fair enough, we're going to run it online, and it's going to be a case of, 3 of us are there, right, let's do it, let's have a game, and let's further the story.
Yeah, I think as well, like, one of the things that I do like about online, that obviously is impossible to do at the table, is it really widens the circle of people you can play with, right? Mm-hmm. So, for example, Scott, who we had on as a guest last episode, I played in a campaign that he ran, where we had players from, I think we had a couple of players from South Africa, where me and him are both from originally. As well as obviously me and him were both living here in the UK, and like you can play with people all over the world, and you don't have it's possible, you know. Whereas if I wanted to get one of my American friends to come and play at the table, he's got to fly here, he's got to get hotels. That's a lot for a game of D&D.
You've got to be one hell of a GM.
You've got to be really committed.
Really good. You've got to be like Joe Manganiello, sort of.
Yeah.
If Joe Manganiello would offered me a seat at his table,
I'd get on the plane. Yeah, absolutely. I'd get on the plane.
I'd even play D&D.
See, for me, that'd be icing on the cake.
But yeah, you are 100% right in that. Before I took over our local Pathfinder Society Lodge, I was doing the online version of it. And
Yeah.
what initially was, we're going to do like an online offering for our players and this, that, and the other. It turned out to be people from all over the world. You know, I met people in the States, I met people in South America, there were people all the way from Australia, and we'd all kind of come together for this one-off Pathfinder Society scenario. And it's like, okay, guys, next week I'm running something else. If you want to join, let's do it. And so you are 100% right, and it has kind of made the tabletop role-playing game world a bit smaller, a bit closer together than it ever was.
Yeah, I would say maybe closer together rather than smaller, because I would say it's made it bigger in that you've now got a huge pool of people to play with, which has brought everybody a bit closer as well.
100%. I mean, the second sort of avenue of thought that question kind of raises for me is, now that we've done digital versus like physical, is how much, at least for me, the sort of effort into the physical medium, how much that adds. And I'm afraid to say that for me personally, it doesn't really add very much.
Yeah, I think as well that's one of those things where it comes down to, like, for me, the physical elements don't take a lot of effort, because everyone plays at my house, because I've got a nice big table, I've got loads of space, I've got now, especially with the tabletop maps and the TV based mapping and my new screen and all that sort of thing, and because I've got the 3D printers to make like really cool terrain pieces, and I can make my physical game space really, really enticing, a lot like you do with your virtual tabletops, because I can actually just run a virtual tabletop on the screen if I wanted to. Essentially that is what that bit of software I mentioned earlier, the Dynamic Dungeon Editor, that is essentially what it is. It's creating those virtual tabletop maps, right?
Yeah.
And you can modularly create modularly. That was a really hard word for me to say for some reason. Create those. You can put in like this bit of corridor which leads into this bit of corridor which leads to a T junction or a cross connection or whatever. But so you can build out your physical space very easily with that. But that being said, I mean, especially around where we live, I don't know many DMs who have access to the same sort of stuff that I do.
Yeah.
I mean, of all of the people that I've played with, I only know one other DM who has had a 3D printer. And I don't play at his table anymore for various reasons, but which I'm not going to get into because it's not for this. But he was the one that really got me into 3D printing.
Yeah.
And what that offers for the table. And it is, like I said, like without access to those facilities, at the table can be a lot harder. Because I mean, the other game that I play in with another mutual friend of ours, obviously he doesn't have access to all of those materials that I do, or even he does have access to them because I've offered them to him, but he prefers not to use them. So he will hand draw a lot of his battle maps and things like that, and it definitely does feel different playing on like a hand drawn battle map versus like those, with all the like trees and all these 3D things,
But I mean, because that is kind of my sort of philosophy. I mean, I've played in games where a GM has brought out all the terrain pieces, and don't get me wrong, I 100% appreciate the effort that goes into it, and I appreciate the dedication that they bring to the table. But I can just as happily play on a hand-drawn map on a piece of paper using Lego bricks as characters. And honestly, I would.
I've actually done that.
I'm just as happy to do that as I am to play at a table where someone's got like buildings and stuff like that. It doesn't. It's appreciated, but I don't walk away from that table thinking, wow, that scenery was fantastic. I walk away from that table kind of going, damn, I died. And just, for me, the narrative aspects are what is what I kind of take away.
Hmm.
A GM that really brings me, really immerses me into the action,
Yes.
doesn't necessarily need any sort of terrain or other props in order to do that. You just need to tell me a story, and
Yeah.
I am 100% in. So, yeah, that's kind of where I stand.
Yeah, no, I mean that's the thing. I agree because let's be honest, right? The whole point of these games is the story, right? It's a role playing game at its core. You are filling the role of this character. You are fitting into the story that's being told. Everything else is, like you say, is really secondary. Like whether you're doing this over like an animated flow of lava going from like this terrain rock across this bridge to there, or whether I just tell you that's what you're doing. If I tell you that's what you're doing in a really engaging way and a really descriptive way, you're going to be able to still picture that in your head.
Yeah, I think that's it. I mean, think back to any game that you've played. Think about any game, any combat, any scene, anything like that you have played. You don't remember. You don't see it as I was sat around a table playing a game. You see it as, oh, I was fighting off owlbears, or I was, it is an immersive hobby, which we don't have to tell our listeners, because if they're listening to us, I'm guessing they've played the games before.
I would hope so, because if they haven't played the game before and they're listening to us, don't take our word for it. Go and find a GM and play it. It's so much better than we describe it.
And please listen to people who know what they're talking about.
Yes. Yeah.
We
not us.
we're two idiots who went, you know what would be a good idea? Let's do a podcast.
Hey, it'd be a really cool idea if we just turned our mics on one day and then just like put it out there.
That is literally how this started. We had a conversation that was about an hour and a half long and went, dude, we should have recorded that.
Yeah, literally, that's what it was like. And I think it was even like when we went to do the test for this as well, like for all of our like software and that for recording, we literally we're like, oh yeah, we'll just hit record for like 30 seconds and see how it sounds. And then like an hour later, we're like, we went on a little bit long there.
But I mean, like the ill-fated, not recorded version of our first episode.
Oh God.
It was like, guys, we've been doing this for like an hour and a half now.
Yeah.
Should we start trying to wrap up at least? Should we start trying to? And then we wrapped up. I said thank you to our listeners, and then I went, "Oh, guys,
I wasn't recorded."
remember when I dropped? Yeah, it didn't start recording again when I came back in. We'd recorded 40 minutes out of an hour and a half.
Yes.
So yes.
Oh.
Those eagle-eyed, well, not eagle-eyed. That's probably the wrong thing to.
Eagle-eared.
Eagle-eared.
Hey, they succeeded their perception check, not their intelligence check. All right.
Those eagle-eared listeners will have noticed some choppy editing. There were a lot of jokes that got lost, though. That's the saddest thing about it.
That was the worst part.
That was the worst part.
I was hilarious. Like, so the bit that actually made the cut, I wasn't that funny. That bit that was missing, I was hilarious. You'll just have to take my word for it.
Yeah, 100%. It is literally the funniest you've ever been, Justin.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. And there's no evidence now.
No, there is no evidence of it.
I feel like you did that on purpose. I reckon you were recording yourself. I'm just going to cut that out. He was too funny.
Well, I mean, I've got a reputation to kind of like keep up and maintain. And if people think you're funnier than me, it's this whole dynamic.
It's bad for business. It's bad for business.
It is. I mean, Scott. I mean, he was just non-stop joke after joke after joke. Yeah,
it's like we're at the Chuckle Hut. Oh my god. Yeah.
But yeah, it was good. We did run a bit long though.
Yes.
But yeah, I don't think we've got very much else to discuss really. Have you got anything in the works for the rest of the week?
Mostly just finishing off that stuff that I spoke about earlier. So I want to give the PVC piping, because at the moment it's just white. It's all white, and it's not glued together. So it's just friction held at the moment.
Right.
Because it was like test fit. Although it's been actually set up since I finished it, and it's still going strong. It hasn't broken. So even just friction fit, it's holding its own.
That's
So
cool.
it's been set up now for about 4 hours, I would say it's been set up for now. And it hasn't fallen apart. So job well done.
No, like I say, it looks really good. Man. Genuinely
So yeah, it's mostly just gonna be finishing that off. So I'm gonna glue the piping into the connectors, give it a coat of paint, because my tablecloth and stuff for my table is all black. So I'm gonna be giving it a coat of black paint, so it kind of blends in a bit more.
Yeah.
Rather than being this glaring white thing on a black bit of cloth. And then finishing off the detail bits on the DM screen. I think that's probably my plan for this coming week.
Fantastic. I am about to get really busy, gaming wise, because this murder mystery has been probably the most ambitious thing I've written to date. So I've had the bright idea of doing something even more ambitious for the next arc. So I'm going to be working on that. I'm also working on getting some Delta Green ready to run for people. I've suddenly had a bit of an uptake in interest from I know you're interested, but like a couple of the people I work with, a couple of the people I used to work with, everybody's kind of going, so when are we going to do more Delta Green? So I'm gonna
honestly it's such a fun system.
So I'm gonna be reading through some operations and getting some of that ready. Also, I have a mini convention in mid-May. I think it's the 13th or 14th of May. So if you are in the southeast of England, close to Southend-on-Sea, at Gamers Nexus in Hadley, there's going to be a mini convention. I do believe it's the weekend of the 13th to the 14th of May, where I'm going to be attempting to run Pathfinder 2nd Edition's Malevolence over the course of 4 sessions, which I've been told is not going to be easy. So, yeah, that's going to be a challenge. So I'm working on that, getting Malevolence ready. And, yeah, just kind of preparing things that are to come.
So yeah, sounds like you've got your work cut out for you.
Pretty much, yeah. So that is, I think that's about it from us, isn't it, Justin?
Yeah, I think that about sums it all up. So that's going to be it from us, I reckon.
So I just want to thank everybody for tuning in and listening once again to the now titled Too Legit to Crit.
Yes.
God, I love it. And
it's so good. So good.
And if you've enjoyed listening to us drone on for an hour and you want to help support us, then the best thing you can do is spread the word.
Yes.
You know, the more listeners we get, the more we can grow, the more we can
justify doing this to ourselves.
Yeah, pretty much. And we can grow, and we can kind of think about the directions we want to take this in. I know it's still early days, but we did get some quite good feedback.
Yes.
Any feedback is welcome, good and bad. You know, if there's things we can improve upon, then by all means, let us know.
Or even just things that you'd like to hear.
Yeah, and with that, I'm going to add our very hastily thrown together form to the description of all of our episodes. So if you want to log into Google Docs and just send us a question, give us something to talk about, and we will endeavor to answer it the best we can. or at least make a couple of funny jokes about it.
Yes.
So
Most likely the second option.
most likely, because we have no fucking clue what we're on about.
Yes.
Exactly. So thank you, everyone. Thanks for listening. Justin, always good to chat to you, my friend.
Absolutely, mate. Always a pleasure. And yeah, again, thank you everybody for tuning in. Thank you for listening to two idiots talk about stuff for an hour. We appreciate it. And I will see you guys all next time.
Good night, everybody.